Now, with God, though, even though the first person sold into slavery was Joseph himself, and his brothers sold him into slavery when he was 17 for 20 shekels of silver, right? You find that in Genesis 37, right? Now, if you keep reading, though, Moses values a slave, right, gored by an ox, whether male or female, at the same price of 30 shekels of silver in Exodus. Now, the first thing you are told in Genesis 37, chapter 2, is Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flocks with his brother, right? In verse 25, and they sat down to eat bread. And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. So Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver into slavery, right? Just like a lot of Africans over in Africa sold their own brothers into slavery. Don't think it's just a white person buying black people from Africa. Other black people sold you into slavery to us, right? It's part of the slave trade, right? You were sold to us, white people, right? Though I'm a little black myself, right? One of my ancestors was black. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if you sell a daughter into slavery, chapter 21 of Exodus, verse 7, and if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the menservant do, if she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a stranger. He shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. And if he had betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So, even in slavery, you had to treat a woman differently than a man, right? In fact, if you were to beat a servant, in verse 20 it says, and if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Now, I heard this went on with white slavers, right, who would take African Americans and beat them to death, right? Well, you're not supposed to do that, right? You're supposed to be punished for doing that, right? They're not reading the Bible, but what they want to read from it, right? They're not reading the whole thing, right? Alright, in verse 28 is where I'm talking about. If an ox score a man or woman that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horns in time past, and it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son or gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their masters 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. Right? And if it's a man or a maidservant, they were valued at 30 shekels of silver equally. And if it killed either or, you were to pay 30 shekels. Well, the Lord was valued at 30 shekels. He was betrayed by Judas for 30 shekels of silver, according to Zechariah and Jeremiah. Though Jeremiah is talking about a land deal versus Zechariah, who's the Lord saying, he was valued at 30 shekels of silver. In Psalms, Psalm 123, verse 2, we read, or let's read verse 1 too. Unto thee lift I up thine eyes, O thou that dwellest in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of the servants look upon the hands of their masters, and as the eyes of a maiden unto the hand of her mistress, so our eyes wait upon the Lord, our God, until that he have mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord. Have mercy upon us, for we are exceedingly filled with contempt. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those that are at ease, and with the contempt of the proud. Right. Now, even Israel knew slavery 3,500 years ago. But the Egyptians are trying to cover that they had them as slaves. Right. They're kind of denying it, in other words. Right. But again, right, there were cities built that over the 3,000-year history of Egypt and Israel, right? And Egypt even mentions Israel as a nation at one point, and during their encounter with each other, right? So that you know, by a certain time, Israel was their own independent nation of Egypt, right? As they said so in the Bible. Right. Now, when Paul says bond or free, he's talking about slavery there, right? The Christ is both bond and free, right? And it also means from the law. Christ told you not to judge one another, lest ye be judged. He said to forgive is better than to condemn, for with what measure you measure out, so it will be measured unto you, right? Which means do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? If you think I'm molesting my stepdaughter, but my ex-wife never said anything, who the hell are you, right? My ex-wife is the one who can charge me with that crime, not a stranger, right? I don't know who you are. My ex-wife never charged me with that crime because it would implicate her. See, she can't know unless the daughter really came in there and I had to bring her back to her for real. Now, I might not even, by the time this came out, even remember if that happened or not, for example. Right. But if it did, I would know I was sleeping on the couch. Right. That's why I can make up two different stories where in story A, she could have come to me in one way, or in story B, she could have came in there to me standing by the bathroom door. Right. Either way, in both stories, I'm implicating it would be unusual for her to do that, right? And if even I with mental illness would know to bring her back to her mom, right? If you're hearing what I'm saying in the story I'm making up, right? Now, how can I make it up? Easily. I've heard of this happening through Oprah and Dr. Phil, idiot. I also seen it on the show SVU, dummy, right? On NBC. And I've also been around it myself, a female cousin being molested by her stepdad, right? I'm not going to name names, but again, right? That's why I know it can really happen, right? But when you tell the story and you change the names of the characters, it's like the idea of a vampire started with Bram Stoker, but there are lots of books after Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, because Nosferatu, or a vampire, is also an English word, right? Anyone can use under freedom of speech, under the Constitution. For example, as well. And like I told you, the word paps and the word mastois apply to female breast, not a male chest. Right. In the Greek, that's stethos. Though with Jesus, John uses both words. And like I said, he could even metamorph into more than one person. Two other people appeared with him in front of Peter, James, and John. Right. Now, Peter thought it was Moses and Elijah, but Christ confirmed John the Baptist was Elijah. How, therefore, can it be Moses and Elijah if John was in the spirit of Elijah? Right. It was conceived sexually through his parents. Right. He would be then the reincarnation of Elijah. Right. As well. No. And not just a common Jewish man. Right. But that don't mean he knew he was Elijah when he was asked of the scribes and Pharisees either. But Jesus knew who he was. And confirmed that John was Elijah. Right. To the three disciples. Right. Peter, James, and John. Right. Though John was the first disciple beheaded, or James, was the first disciple beheaded for his testimony of Jesus. And then Paul was in Rome for 2 years after he made it there at the end of Acts, right? Though he was beheaded too, right? Now, we don't know how long Paul ministered, but he went all over the Mediterranean area. Even as far as Spain, right? He even wrote to the Laodiceans, right? An epistle which is missing from your Bibles for some reason, right? Maybe it was too Gnostic for them to include it in, right? Because anything Gnostic, by 325 AD, they started trying to book burn it, right? And the problem is, even when you book burn pagan writings, you can't book burn someone else's opinion, right? You're then sealing a truth. And when you seal the truth, that means you're lying about it. Right? You're denying what it means. And that's a sin of lying. And that's one of the sins that'll send you to hell. Whether you care about it or not, that's why you're going to hell still. Yes, you have the normal lifespan of any man on the earth, right? Up to 120 years, according to Moses. But no one has made it even close to 120 years, right? Not even in this current century where we have medical marvels that keep people alive longer. No one still has made it close to Moses 120 years. Right? He's still the oldest man in recorded history, I guess. That is, besides those who were before the flood, right? Though again, all Moses knows is through the Epic of Gilgamesh, there was a flood, right? And he's making it part of the Jewish religion, right? Two, he's borrowing from that story and telling how God flooded the earth, but saved only 8, right? No. It also has to do with the total population of the world back then, which was a lot smaller. Now we're breeding like rabbits. Matrix indeed. Talk about an overpopulation of the planet within a few hundred years, right? But again, we were told to refill the earth, right? The whole of it, right? That's before we discovered America, right? Until then, only the Indians who crossed over through the Russia-Alaskan land bridge at the time, right? Or maybe they used boats, who knows, right? They can make canoes. Idiot. No. But again, they came from somewhere. They got over here first, right? Just like it's rumored that the Vikings came over here right before we did. But they're up north. They were more in Canada area, right? Exactly. Columbus went south, too far south, right? And the Vikings were up north, right? And the Indians in Central America, which, if you know what I mean, right? Where we are now, we stole their land. We crazy Europeans, right? That's how bad we are. We're not good people. We steal other people's land, just like the Russians are doing in Ukraine, right? And then you want to judge them, right? Right. And you know it's about money and power. The same way you stole America from the Indians, which I don't see you giving their land back anytime soon either, right? This was their land, not ours. We came over and settled like wildfire. She'll be calling wildfire. Right. And you're such liars, right? You're so good at it by now, too. You only know how to tell a lie. You don't even know you're not in the truth anymore. That's how good your lie has become, right? When you're lying that good, right? You don't even know the truth anymore, right? All you're doing is making up fictional stories, right? That you know can't be proven even scientifically, right? Time travel is a good example of that. I mean, you want to go back in time Gotta go back in time. Yeah, right. Straight to hell. Straight to hell.